Okay, so thanks everyone for joining us today. My name is Brian, and I'm joined by my colleague Karsten.
Hi.
And today we're talking about Kerio Connect Client, which is particularly relevant as we've just released version 8.4 last week, which adds a number of improvements to the Kerio Connect Client. So for the agenda today, we'll just do a brief overview of Kerio Connect Client. For those of you who are not entirely familiar with it or would like a refresher, we'll cover some of the key features that we've added in some of the recent releases, which will of course then segue into what we've added in version 8.4. And then Karsten will go through a number of demonstrations so you can see in live what the Kerio Connect client is capable of. And of course, at the end, we'll open it up for questions. And you're welcome to ask questions throughout the presentation. You'll see that there is a Q&A pod there, which some of you are already using. And so Karsten or myself will try to answer some of the questions as they come in. Otherwise, we'll address them at the end of the presentation. So just a brief overview of Kerio Connect client. What is it? It's management or access to your email, contacts, calendars, tasks, and notes through only a web browser. So you don't need any local desktop software. All you need is any modern web browser, be it Safari, Chrome, Firefox, or Internet Explorer. When should I use Kerio Connect Client? You can use it temporarily if you don't happen to have access to your own computer. You can use it to complement your desktop email client. So there may be certain capabilities that Kerio Connect Client offers that you can't get from your desktop client. That might mean server-side filters, configuring your out-of-office message, or managing your mobile devices. So that means wiping a device, setting up your device, or configuring folders to synchronize. You can also use Kerio Connect Client as a permanent replacement to your desktop client. Why to use Kerio Connect Client, or why should I use it? Well, one of the main things, there's no confusing account setups. As you see, I've rattled off a list of protocols there. When you're using a desktop client, you might have to set up IMAP, Exchange Web Services, CardDev, CalDev, and so forth. So those can be a bit confusing or difficult to set up. So with Kerio Connect Client, you don't have to configure any of that. You just put in the URL of your Kerio Connect server with your username and password. So it's very easy from an initial setup standpoint. You can access it from anywhere. All you need is just regular web ports to be opened, HTTP or HTTPS, and all you need is a browser. You don't need any local software, so it's really quick and easy and accessible. You don't need to license any software. So obviously Outlook would be typically the software that you'd be licensing on the desktop side. So with Kerio Connect Client, you're licensed on the server. You don't need to worry about licensing the browser. And of course, all browsers are built into the operating system and are free. With the Kerio Connect Client, you get a consistent user experience even from different browser versions or browsers or platforms in particular. So for example, if you're using desktop applications, you've got Address Book and iCal on the Mac side, and then you've got maybe Outlook on the Windows side. There might be certain capabilities or behavior that isn't necessarily consistent between those two applications or platforms. Whereas if you have everybody using the Kerio Connect client, you have a consistent user experience in terms of setting exceptions for recurring events, for example, or mapping of folders, those types of things. It's all the same consistent user experience when everyone is using the Kerio Connect client. Rules, filters, spam settings, out of office, all that applies at the server side. So, kind of getting back to the point of using it as a complement to your desktop client, you can configure all these things within the Kerio Connect client. So even if you're still using a full desktop client, you can still go into Kerio Connect client to configure some of these items, so you can use it as a complement to your desktop email client. And as I'll mention in the next few slides here, we've really made a lot of effort in the last few releases in particular to make sure that Kerio Connect Client has a lot of rich interaction with the desktop environment so that it looks and feels very much like a local desktop application. I'll go ahead and jump into some of the main features, and these are still sort of carried over from last release, previous releases, 8.2, 8.3, but they're very noteworthy features as well, and demonstrate some of the rich interaction with the desktop environment. So in particular, the ability to drag and drop items. Obviously, composing an email, it's very convenient if you want to add a bunch of attachments that you can just simply drag them right into the Mail Compose window from your file browser. You don't have to click on some button and kind of tediously navigate to individual files. So we make it very easy to attach files to an email. Receiving notifications when a new email arrives. This is a very important thing. You can see in the screenshot here that I'm working outside of my web browser, just working on a document file, for example, and you see with the arrow pointing to a notification. So within a second or two of receiving an email, I get notified that the email's arrived, and if I want, I can go ahead and pop open my browser and reply to that email or act on it immediately, as opposed to having to be sitting in front of the inbox sort of waiting for the email to arrive. So this is normally something that you would have only with a desktop application. So most browsers now involve this capability of receiving desktop level notifications. So that's what you're seeing in the top right corner there. So when composing a message, it's definitely nice to be able to quickly add recipients. You just type a few characters and then hit Enter or Tab to autofill the recipients. And I point out that it's intelligent because it's actually keeping a local private address book, kind of like how Outlook has an NK2 file. So it's remembering all of the recipients from emails that you've replied to or that you've composed, so that you can quickly add recipients as opposed to having to fully type out the entire email address. So here you see a digital signature. This is Karsten's of a signed Komodo certificate. So having the ability to import a signed certificate is definitely very powerful. It allows you to really identify yourself to, or even verify your identity to the recipient. To essentially authenticate who you are. You can also use digital signatures as part of secure MIME or email encryption, which is the next slide here. So you can see in this example, this screenshot is from Karsten sending me an email, and you'll notice the arrow pointing to the lock there. You'll also notice that my name in the recipient list has a little check mark next to it. So that's indicating that Karsten has my digital certificate, and he is able to send an encrypted email to me. So this is, again, a very powerful, secure feature that ensures secure delivery of the message, that even anyone who has access to this to the email message will not be able to read the contents. Only the recipient will be able to see the contents of this encrypted message. So here you can see we're styling an email. So obviously it's very important to be able to use rich text or other types of formatting when composing an email. And as you'll see in the next screenshot here, if you need something more powerful, you can actually copy and paste. So in this example, we've pulled up information from the IMDb website and copied and pasted the contents directly into a Mail Compose window. So again, if you want some more rich text formatting from content that's on an existing website, you can just simply copy and paste it. And having a comprehensive search is again a very important capability of of any email client, obviously you're retaining a lot of information, so having quick and efficient searches is extremely important. So that's certainly something that we emphasize with Kerio Connect Client. It also performs full text searching, although that's a feature that does have to be enabled on the server side by the administrator. But you see here just in the screenshot performing a basic search, and you can choose whether you want to search within the sender or the recipient or the subject. If you have Kerio Operator as well, you can integrate Kerio Connect with operators so that you have the click to dial capability. So as you see in the screenshot here, I've got an email from Karsten, and I can click on his name, and it presents to me all of the phone numbers that are stored in my contact for Karsten. And when I click on one of those, it'll ring my local phone, and then when I pick that up, it'll make an outbound call to him. So that's the click to dial or click to call type capability, which is pretty nice to get that right directly through the web interface, the Kerio Connect client. So in scheduling an event, which you see in the screenshot here, you can actually choose to show meeting times so that you can see the availability of the recipients that you're adding to this meeting invitation, so that you can better choose an appropriate time which is available for all of the recipients. And that's what you see in the image down below here, all of the available meeting times for all of the attendees. So now I'll jump into what we've added in this release of 8.4. So now you can add recipients from your address book. You can easily pull up a list in that. So in the to field there, the icon, if you click on that, it'll bring up a nice browsable list of all of your contacts, which includes the global address list or anyone inside of your own personal contacts. And you see you have the type down capability there with a nice browsable list of the recipients. So it just makes it quite a bit easier to add recipients when you're composing email.
There's one question, sorry Brian, there's one question from Markus Flettinger, and it's in German, so I'm going to translate it into English. Markus is asking if we are going to provide a full text search also for the attachments, as Apple Mail is doing it. So we know that Apple Mail has the Spotlight functionality, which is also indexing the attachments. I don't know if it's on the plan, on the list, but Marcus, you can definitely vote for such a feature, which will be, how you can vote will be shown during the demonstration, and also Brian will mention at the end where you can leave your comments. There's another one which is import and export of Carta from Sven Bartel. This is definitely something we have on the list, but I would just like to encourage that we are now going first go further with the presentation, because some of your questions will definitely be answered when Brian is finishing his part.
Okay, so as you see in the slide here, one of the other significant additions to 8.4 is the ability to add hyperlinks to an email. So as you see, I've selected some text here, KB1193, and then you can choose the little link icon that's in the menu there, and then it'll bring up this dialog where you can paste in the hyperlink. So it's nice that way you don't have to provide the full link, which some web links can be very long. So you can hide those links behind a small piece of text that actually explains where that link will take you. Now you can manage your spam whitelist in Kerio Connect Client. This is actually a feature that was ported over from the old webmail and is now available through Kerio Connect Client. So you can choose to trust senders that are in your contact folders or anyone that you've replied to, or of course you can add custom email addresses to the whitelist as well. Now you can comment when replying to meeting invitations. So previously, if you received an invitation, you would just simply accept or deny. And for example, if you denied a message, the person wouldn't know why you couldn't make it. So here you can actually provide an explanation. Maybe I'm out of the office that day, I'm sick, whatever. You can at least give some indication to the person creating the event as to why you can or cannot join, or maybe you want to add some additional notes, or maybe point out that you might be a few minutes late, anything like that. But the fact is, you can add notes to when you're replying to a meeting invitation. And if you happen to forget when you first accept the invite or decline the invite that, when you accept the invite that you didn't provide any additional notes, you can go back into the invitation and later add some additional notes. Just point out a few other additions to 8.4. So now you receive new email immediately. Previously, it took upwards of a minute to receive a new inbound email. So now it's within a second or two that you'll receive the notification, and it will appear pretty much right away in your inbox. If you're the administrator of the mail server, you can now add a custom logo to the login page. So as you'll see in the demo, we've used our own, we have a Bind Brewing example company, and you'll see we've added that custom logo to our login page. You can also request a delivery receipt. So when you're composing an email, you can check that box, and that will allow you to know when the recipient has in fact received the message. We've also improved the sharing and reminders dialogues so that they're now a bit more intuitive. So I've compiled a list here of some of the features that would definitely be nice to have that we do not currently have, that you probably will see or have seen in your desktop client. And certainly we would like to introduce these features, most of them, if not hopefully all of them in the future. Certainly I can't make any promises here, but this is just a list of features that hopefully we'll see at some point in the near future with Kerio Connect Client. So that includes an agenda view of your calendars with the ability to print them. So I know it's a very common workflow that you want to have just more or less a list, not just the day or week or month view, but a list of items, upcoming items for the next few days that you'd like to just be able to easily print out and have available at your desk. The ability to use images or attach images and have them displayed in line. I know that's something a lot of email clients do by default, so obviously that's something we would like to have in the future, is the ability to attach images in line. Creating a contact from an inbound email, which is, I believe that's something that's currently in the old webmail client. So this is probably something that we'll see sooner than later, but just that's simply the ability to right-click on an email and add the sender to your contacts. Threading of email or grouping or conversation view, but yeah, that helps to keep your inbox nice and tidy and clean, and certainly that's something that I think we'll see hopefully soon. And then continuous scrolling. So right now you have to page through, I think it's 50 messages at a time. So with continuous scrolling, the idea is that when you scroll to the bottom of the list, it will automatically refresh and populate with the next list of 50, so that you can almost continuously scroll through the list, which is something generally that you can do with a local desktop email client. And then the ability to import and export email contacts, calendars, tasks, notes, those types of things, which currently you can do if you are synchronizing with the desktop email client. However, it would be nice to be able to do those things natively right through the Kerio Connect client. So importing from, for example, an Outlook PSD file, or a comma-separated file, inbox, or other formats. So that is, again, something we would like to have in the near future. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here, and I'm going to hand it off to Karsten, who will walk you through a demonstration of the Kerio Connect client.
Yes, thank you, Brian, so far. Before I'm going to start the demonstration, we have here three questions. Question one is, which you have already answered, by the way, will there be an export feature to other formats such as PSTs? As far as I know, it's to a PST. Exporting from Kerio Connect client into a PST file is currently not one of the highest priorities. But as I said, you can definitely vote for it. Then we have a question. Is 8.4 fully supporting the new Office 365 Outlook client for Mac? No, it is not. The thing is that the Office 365 Outlook client for Mac needs at a minimum an Exchange 2010. And the Carrier Connect is, let's say, in quotation marks, emulating an Exchange 2007, I believe, Brian, correct?
I think you're correct with this. Yeah.
So this is why the Office 365 Outlook client fails if you would like to set up an Exchange account to a Carrier Connect. But you can use, of course, you can use the Office 365 Outlook client for Mac if you're setting it up as an IMAP account. That should definitely work. There is another question from Erich Roth, and please, it would be nice if you are asking your questions in English, so I do not need to translate it for my fellow Brian. There's a question if we are planning to have some time shifted sending of emails. So I create an email and I say, okay, send it in 2 hours. Do you know if there's something on the plan? I'm not sure.
Sorry, you're saying like a delayed sending of email?
Yes, exactly.
That's actually the first I've heard of that. I know there's sometimes the ability to recall a message, but to have a delayed sending, I mean, obviously you can set that up in the scheduling on the server side, but for a user, I think probably, I mean, it's the first I've heard of that request, but I would say that you know, that's something we'd probably need to have a better understanding of the business case for, you know, what is the circumstance for when you might need to do something like that, which again, our user voice system, the feedback system, which we'll point out at the end of the presentation here, is going to be the best opportunity for everyone to provide us with that type of feedback features that you'd like to see in future versions.
Okay. There's another question from John Danowski. We stopped using footers quite some time ago when there were issues with it. Has this been resolved? John, I do not know, and I strongly believe Brian is also not knowing what problems you had, and this is definitely not the time to discuss a normal support question. You should get in contact with our support, and so he can pick up the if as you have definitely filed a ticket for this issue, they can bring up the ticket again and can have a look on it if it's solved. And Sam is asking a nice question. Why don't you marry Carrier Connect client with a browser, for example, Firefox underlying, thus making like an app a user can double click? Sam, maybe, but I will not say anything official now. So Patrick is asking, when will the new Outlook for Mac version be supported? Do you have any insight when we are going to support the Outlook 365 for Mac? I have none.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I know it's a priority, but I don't have any definitive info on that. So
yeah. So Patrick, we can't answer you this. Is it possible to build a filter based on full text search in the body? So you mean if you can create a filter where you have, let's say, one argument is, I don't know, put all things which contain order into some other mailbox. I think no, Brian. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, filtering based on message body is not something that I think is currently in the works as far as I know. So
Yeah.
perhaps maybe
Okay.
we can move to the demo, and then I think we can continue to
Yeah.
address the questions maybe towards the end of the presentation.
Exactly. Okay. Now I'm going to share my screen, and you will definitely be maybe a little bit irritated. Oh no. So I think, Brian, can you, on my control monitor, I definitely see the inbox of my Kerio Connect
Hmm.
client, but first I would like to log out. So
Hmm.
this is what Brian has already mentioned. You can now customize the login. So you see this little tiny Bine Brewing logo on the top, and it's not Carrier Connect saying, it's saying Bine Brewing Company. This login icon can, or this picture can be implemented by the administrator. So you have a customized login page. So first of all, what I would like to say is how can I access my Carrier Connect client? So of course you need a browser. I'm using here Safari. And of course, you need the URL where you can log into your Carrier Connect client. This URL should normally be given by your administrator or by any person who's responsible for the access to the mail system. Basically, most of our customers are using the URL like I'm having here, like mail.binebrewing.com, and okay, exchange Binebrewing by your own company. So you type in your login name and your password, and you go to anmelden. Why it's showing up here in German? It's showing up in German because I'm on a German system, so the login page automatically detects the language of your browser. So even here, you do not need to think about changing it to any language. It detects automatically the language of your browser. So I'm now going to anmelden, which means log in. So here you can see the first page you will be faced with when you log in into your Carrier Connect client. I will go briefly through the different icons you see and the different buttons you can see. And so the first thing you will recognize here is that the, let's say, rich text or styled email you have seen in the presentation of Brian is not looking so well. This is a thing you can change in your settings, which I will point to later on. Here it is per default, it is deactivated that pictures from external servers will be loaded. This is for protecting you from spam, but to be honest, most of the days today you will receive HTML emails, and when you always untick, or when you have per default unticked the box that the additional content should be loaded, you will always receive mails like this, and you need to click here on display images. But what you now see after I've clicked on display images, you see the complete rich HTML email. So I would like to go from the left to the right. So basically your Carrier Connect client and the mail component is divided into 3 columns. On the left side, you see the folders like inbox, send, drafts, etc., and also the public folders. In the middle column, you see a list of your emails where you also have the buttons for composing a mail, deleting a mail, marking a mail as spam, and you also have this more button so you can flag a mail or mark it as unread if you would like to read it later on. And you, on the right side, on the right column, you have the preview window for the email you have just highlighted in the list. The left page here, or the left column with the Folders can be hidden, so more of your email is shown in your browser window. I will turn it back. So, of course, here you have the different buttons like reply, reply to all, and you have this more button, which is also very interesting because there you can find the forward, edit as new, you can print, delete, and also mark it as spam, or you can invite recipients based on this email. Also, you see this little icon here in the upper right corner, which indicates that this email is signed. When we move on to the next icon, this is the calendar view. So here you can see it's basically, and maybe some of you already know that we are pretty much Apple addicted. So this looks pretty similar to the Apple iCal or calendar application. Again, here you have now you have two columns. On the left column page, you see the different calendars, and you see also the calendars you have maybe subscribed to. You can see the resource calendars if you are allowed to see them, and you also can see a public calendar which Brian and me have created here, which is named Global Meetings. Here you can see an overview of the whole month. You can also click through the month and see the upcoming dates. On the right, in the big window here, you can see in the upper right corner that we are showing you the calendar week. So this is pretty important in the business. I know that pretty well because we just have renovated our house. And all the craftsmen were just talking, yeah, we will fix it in week 45. So now you can easily identify in which week you are. You have basically three different views. You have a day view, which shows you the whole events of one day. You have a week view, and you have an overview. The overview basically tries to show you the whole month. So you have a quick overview what events will be in this month. I switch back to week and move over to the next icon, which is the contacts. This is pretty lame. I think I do not need to explain it so much how to create a new contact. But again, interesting maybe here that you have the left column where you can see your own contacts and contact folders and contact groups. And you can also access from here the public folders, the global address list, and also you can see the resources which are available in your domain. Are there any questions so far, Brian?
We've had several come through. I'm trying to address them through the chat, so I think you can go ahead and continue.
Okay, good. So yes, as you can see, you even can upload pictures from persons you have created. So it's a pretty nice thing. I think it's pretty nice that it shows you also the pictures. And what is also interesting is when I go here to Brian Carmichael, it also shows me right in the contact that I have a certificate, the public certificate from Brian. So I'm able to send him signed emails. I move over to the tasks lists. I can add a task. For example, let's say the new webinar should not be so annoying. I say add. And if I want to schedule a time when I should be reminded about this task, I just do a double click on it and I can specify a date and I can specify a time when I would like to have the reminder, and I can even add here some notes what things needs to be done. I move to the last icon here, and this is the notes icon. Here you can easily create and add some notes which will be also synchronized if it's correctly configured, for example, on your mobile device, which will be also synchronized with your mobile device. What you may have seen through all of those pages is that on the upper right corner you see your login name, your name of your account. When I click on it, you see there are additional settings and additional entries in this dialog. And one of the most important from my point of view is, for example, the feedback button. When you click on this feedback, you will be automatically forwarded to our users voice page where you can vote for additional features, or you can place suggestions what you are maybe missing in the Kerio Connect client. I would strongly advise first before you write your own feedback, have a quick look on all the already filed suggestions, and if there is a suggestion which is the same like you would like to suggest, please place your vote on it, because the higher the votes are, the more it would be maybe possible that it will find its way into our product. What you also can see is here in my case, the integration with Mac. I will just click on it and it opens another window. What I bring now over here so you can see it. So here, as I'm on an Apple system, when I click on the integration in Mac, I can start right here from my Kerio Connect client the integration process with the native applications on my system. In my case, as I said, set up my Mac. This will download and create a little installer, which automatically configures your Apple Mail, your calendar, your contacts, your iChat or messages, your Outlook, and your Entourage. Entourage is, by the way, a little bit misleading, this icon at the moment. This is maybe something new for Brian too. As you can see at the 8.4 release notes, we have skipped the support for Entourage. Basically, Microsoft itself has stopped supporting Entourage 2008 in April 2013, I believe. So this is a little, let's say, design glitch that you still see the Entourage icon here in the integration with Mac of 8.4. As you can see in the upper right corner, there are other possibilities of operating systems you can choose. You can see this is the dialog for the integration with Windows. You also have some advices how you can use it on a Linux machine, and also you have this mobile devices. This page should normally be opened on your mobile device, so you can easily set up your mobile device. So going back here to my username, you can also say, let's say, slightly change the look and feel of the Kerio Connect client windows. You can change the theme, and believe me or not, this made a big hooray when people were able, for example, to change the color into pink, for example. Some of the personal female assistants liked it so much. But even more important from my point of view than changing the color of the windows is that the things you can find here in settings. So first, you can see the special settings for several things. I would just go over some of them, the most important ones, I think. For example, email. In email, you can define your own signature. So you see, this is a sorry, This is some styled HTML signature. You can see that this is in italic, it's bold. We have a little picture here. So you can create your own HTML signature. Just be aware of the fact that if you have a company footer, a company signature, which is also a new feature, I believe it was introduced in 8.3, where the administrator can set up a footer with additional information like your company name, the name of the sender, the function, etc. Please check in advance if you are allowed to create your own signature. I just would like to show you that you even can do a rich text and an HTML signature. And when I click here on the HTML icon, you see it's pretty basic HTML code. So no rocket science, no brain surgery. It's pretty simple. There are lots of web editors where you can just put in design like what you see is what you get, your signature, you click on the code button, and then you can copy paste the code over here. The thing why my email, let's say, full featured HTML email was not so nice, and I need to click display the missing pictures. This is because this button here is unticked per default. So next thing I would like to mention is the language and time. Of course, I would like to save it. So basically, the language of your Kerio Connect client is based on the language it detects when you're logging in from your browser. So normally this would be in German, but you can change it here. You can change the language in any of the 17 languages we are supporting. Even more important is the time zone. For example, the Bein Brewing mail server is based in Germany. So this is perfect. The time zone here is already chosen. So it fits with my time zone I'm actually in. But Brian, for example, needs to change the time zone because he's sitting in the US, and so it would make sense for him to change the time zone to his time zone he is normally working. Another thing is here your localis. Your localis is defining how date and time should be presented and what is the first day in the week. So as you can see, you can have different settings like language in English, but localis in German, because I do not like this US date format, which is completely confusing me. Next thing is reminders. If you would like to have this notifications Brian was showing during his presentation, you need to tick these boxes: notify me about new messages and remind me about events and tasks. You even can test this if it's showing up when you click on this test button. I'm not doing this now because I'm in a dual monitor environment, and the OS X Yosemite is only presenting you such notifications on your main screen and not on the attached screen. This is not a problem or not a fault by the Kerio Connect client. This is how the Yosemite operating system is handling these notifications, so it doesn't make any sense when I click now on the test notifications. Pretty interesting also for you as an end user is the My Quota setting. There you can see how much of your account of your quota is already consumed, and you can see how many items you have in your several folders. So as you may know, the administrator can set a limit, a quota limit, and it can also set a limit based on the items you are allowed to have. So here in the My Quota thing, you can easily identify how much space is already consumed and how much items are used. Another pretty interesting thing is the secure messages. And I just need to type in now a password as I've already set up the secure message store. And I hope I will remember it. Yes, this is a place where you can import your certificate. The certificate you need if you would like to sign emails you are sending around. Also, I advise you, or our recommendation is that you should tick the box display decrypted messages directly, because then you do not need to take care and click additional buttons in an email. And you can also tick, this is our recommendation, sign all outgoing messages. If you are importing a certificate, why not signing every outgoing message? Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to me. So now, after we have set up most of the interesting things, I will go here to save again. We switch back to our mail. Are there any questions so far? Or have you already answered all the questions?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm trying to answer most of them through the chat here, so I think you can go ahead and proceed.
Yeah, maybe you can read out some of the highlights. Maybe it's interesting because that otherwise the people will continuously hear my annoying voice. So maybe it's interesting for them to hear you again. And maybe some people are following this this presentation on some device where they have put aside the Q&A box. Maybe you have some highlight.
Well, a lot of it is just requests for certain functionality, which I've recommended to use the feedback option. Other questions, relate to the adding of recipients, which I think is something you were actually about to show, the new 8.4 functionality when you can compose an email and easily add recipients from your address book. It's one of the slides I had pointed out earlier on in the presentation, but I think you were going to show that shortly here.
Definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, I think so. Those were kind of again a lot of feature requests. Asking whether or not, for example, the logo can be customizable per domain. So.
So the ordinary, typical questions we are hearing for ages.
Perhaps, yeah. So anyway, I think you're free to continue, Kirsten.
Okay, perfect. So after we have set up and customized our Kerio Connect client, we are going to compose our first mail. As you can see, the signature is added. And I'm now going to write Brian an email, and I just start typing, and voila, it finds him by auto-completion. But I also would like to add somebody on copy, and I think I will send Ilsa Lund also an email. As you may seen, I just clicked on this little icon which represents a person, and now my address book is showing up. I can even start typing and searching for Ilsa, for example, and I click on her, and now Ilsa is added. And I'm going to, as you can see here, I'm going to sign this email, and I will write, this is a typical demonstration test mail. And I click on send, and off we go, and the mail is sent out. After sending a mail, one of the most important things is scheduling events. So I will now organize some meeting, and I would like to organize this meeting with Brian, with Rick, and with Heinrich, and we all should meet in Rick's cafe. So I'm going to create the event right now. I just double click here at the appropriate date, near the appropriate time, I would like to create the event. And I will say the event would be watching the movie Casablanca. Where would we like to see it? Of course, at Rick's Cafe. The time should be around 6 and we go up to 0:30. I would like to invite Brian. I would like to invite Rick. And I would like to invite Heinrich. And as you see, Brian and Heinrich have different icons in front of their name than Rick Blaine. Rick Blaine has a green check mark, and Brian and Heinrich have an X, which means, okay, they are not available at that time. So what can I do? Brian has already shown you this in the presentation. I can click here on Find Meeting Time, and I can see that the only time we could maybe fit together would be between 8 and 9. So let's say I would start at a little bit later on. I would go to 8 and Heinrich should join us a little time later. And maybe he's writing me some answer that he will be only maybe attempting to this watching the movie. But I think he will be, at latest, he will be here because we are not only watching the movie, we also have cocktails afterwards. So maybe when he sees this little note, he will reschedule his meeting he has normally from 9 to 11:30. So I'm going to send the email out. I got a notification that in 7 minutes my meeting is in, and I can see that the meeting room or the resource I've also booked, Rick's Cafe. Here is a little balloon. I can click on it and I can see, okay, has been successfully reserved for the requested time. Perfect. So maybe somebody is answering me now that he will be maybe a little bit late. Maybe it's not Heinrich. Maybe it's somebody else who will be a little bit late. This is the attempt to give Brian the hint that he should answer me now.
Yes, and I've just accepted with that comment.
Cool. And I can see, okay, Brian basically accepted the meeting, but on the, sorry, I have clicked it already. Can you accept again or change something? Because I have accidentally clicked on it. I have accidentally clicked it away. So there should be. This is, by the way, a good example about the push thing. Okay. Anyway, there was also some balloon where I can click on, and I would see some comment of Brian. And as this is some sort of already casted, here we can see it. Actually, I might be a little bit late. Okay. So Brian will maybe come a little bit later. Okay, perfect. So, sorry. When you schedule some meetings, maybe some of you will remember, good, I can maybe attempt watching the movie Casablanca today, but hey, next week I'm on a vacation. Why not already configuring my out of office? So you just go up to your name and there is a little entry which is named out of office. And you can say, okay, send an out of office message. Here is the message I've already written. But as I said, this week I'm here and I can see today is the 9th of December. So this week I'm still here in the office. So it should only be between in the period from the 15th of December till the 19th of December. So I can schedule now my out of office already this week. When I say save, next week, this out of office notification will be sent out. Another interesting thing when we are already, as we are already in the settings dialog again, is the folders to sync options on the, or the folders to sync settings. Here you can set up the and activate the folders you would like to synchronize with your, for example, mobile device. I just need to remind you that this part, Exchange Active Sync, makes only sense when you have licensed the Active Sync extension. But here, the thing with the CalDAV and CardDAV, this is again very interesting, or maybe interesting for our OS X users, as the application calendar and contacts is using the CalDAV or CardDAV protocol. You can also set here the folders you would like to sync with your Apple Calendar or contacts. And of course, when you set up your mobile device like your iPhone with an IMAP, iCal, and CardDAV account, these are the folders where you can mark them to be synchronized or not. Bringing us to the mobile devices section. As you can see here, this is my company iPad, which is connected to this Spine Brewing server. Again, this is only interesting when you have licensed the Active Sync extension. When you have licensed the Active Sync extension, you as a user can do two things. You may remember the times when, for example, your iPhone gets stolen. You need to call into your company. Please give me the administrator. My iPhone has been stolen. Please wipe it. So make a factory reset. My data is safe. Now you can do it as an end user yourself. You can go here and you can say reset the device, and as you can see this little icon on in front of this, this means wiping your device. So don't try this functionality just for the sake of testing it, because when you click on it and the next time your device is connecting to the Kerio, to your Kerio Connect server, your mobile device will be resetted to factory settings. There's another thing which is remove device. This will initiate a resync of the folders. This could sometimes be interesting or helpful when you experience some problems with the syncing of your mobile device with your account. You can try to remove the device and the sync will be established new. Another interesting thing, as we are already here in the settings, is the delegation part. So delegation basically means, okay, let somebody act on behalf of you. Brian and me will say, manage my schedule for me. So per default, when you delegate, for example, I have delegated Brian Carmichael, per default, my personal calendar is delegated to Brian. So Brian would be able to create events and schedule meetings in my name with my personal calendar. The organizer of this meeting will be me, not Brian. Additionally, I can also delegate my inbox. Basically, this is a typical boss personal assistant scenario. So you have a secretary which is dealing all your mails and all your schedules. So you would maybe give her a delegation access to your calendar and your inbox. Per default, only the calendar will be delegated. The other thing, also the difference between delegation and sharing is that when you share out something, you can give somebody, even if you give somebody read and write access, this person will be the organizer of the meeting and not you, the calendar owner. So when you give read-write access to somebody and he is writing into your personal calendar and is creating an event, the organizer will be the person who has subscribed with the read and write access to your calendar. With delegation, he will be acting in your name. So this is basically the end of the demonstration. So I will share another screen. I need to go in the presentation mode. Just flipping through the slides. So what should be the next steps for you? The next steps for you should be, if you would like to learn more about the Kerio Connect client, you can visit our homepage, where you just go to http://kerio.com/connect, or you can even take a test drive so you can get an idea how the Kerio Connect client works. As I already mentioned, if you would like to leave some feedback, there is also a knowledge base article which is showing you again how to use the feedback option of the Kerio Connect client. And if you are happy with Kerio Connect and we could convince you to use the Kerio Connect, then but you do not want to install it on your own machine on premise, you want to have it installed and provided by somebody else. We also have partners who are hosting partners of the Kerio Connect, so you can, let's say, get to them and they will be happy to offer you some Kerio Connect which is hosted by them. That's so far by me, which brings us to the last point, if there are any questions and answers, and this is why I'm now handing over back to Brian.
Okay, well, thanks, Karsten. So I've pretty much addressed most of the questions through the chat. There's a lot of questions about mail filtering and sort of the difference between setting user-based rules and custom rules on the server side, and hopefully I was able to address them by linking to a couple of different knowledge base articles. There's also a question about clarification of the integration with operator. So again, just providing a few hyperlinks to those replies with more information.
Okay. So I think it's time to bring up the poll.
That sounds good. Yeah, go ahead and if you want to select that, Karsten. All right, so yeah, here you can see just a couple of. Thank you. Just a few questions here, just to find out maybe what browser many of you prefer, desktop email client, how often you use Kerio Connect client, or if you happen to be the administrator for your mail system, or if you're just an end user. And we'll give you a few minutes here just to compile the results, and you should also be able to see them yourselves, so we can kind of get a complete tally here of everyone.
Oh, can you see it? Apple Mail and Outlook is head by head.
Head to head, yeah. It's that was kind of a surprise.
Head,
although
so
it looks like Outlook is catching up here.
Yeah. So we have lots of Apple users today here.
Looks like a lot of network administrators too. Mostly everyone is an admin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it looks like kind Connect client usage is occasional to frequent.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Brian, I'm pretty happy to see that for the Microsoft Internet Explorer 8.9, nobody has voted.
Yes, correct.
So,
Oh,
if I
wait, there
do
we
a
have a vote.
quick... Oh, come on.
You spoke too soon. No, no, they
Yeah. I'm happy only to see Microsoft Internet Explorer 10 Plus with only 2 votes. So let's see if more people are voting on Microsoft Internet Explorer.
Yeah,
No,
well,
but when I do a quick count, we have about 40, around 40 votes in total. So I think most of the people have now voted.
looks like there's still
It's not
not a mandatory.
mandatory that you vote. It's not a mandatory. It's you can do it if you would like to. So yeah, basically I think that's it for us. I hope you enjoyed the webinar a little bit, like we enjoyed it. And so far from my side, I can only say have a nice evening. I hope you will use the Kerio Connect client more frequently, more occasionally, and maybe it will become your primary email client. So for me, it's I will say call it a day because it's already 8 o'clock here in Germany. For Brian, the working day has just started, I believe.
Pretty much, yep.
So yeah, pretty much. So thank you very much, and have a good day.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Until next time.